Resources are the cornerstone of Rise of Kingdoms, and whenever you think about getting resources, and especially for newer players, the thing you always hear is make a farm account. Make a farm account. You should make 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 farm accounts. And in today's video, I'm going to give you the one and only farm account guide. I'll tell you how to make a farm account, the best civilization. I'll tell you if you should be in an old or new kingdom. I'll tell you the best city hall, the best buildings, the best commanders, the best equipment, and finally, the best number of farm accounts. So if you want the most in-depth farm account guide that you can get, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off right at the basics of the farm account when you first begin. And a lot of people ask me what's the best civilization for your farm. And when you first start, I always say pick France just because you get Joan. You just get given Joan right off the bat. And she's a really good gathering commander to have. And she's going to help you as you progress. And she's, in my opinion, probably one of, if not the best, epic gathering commanders that you can use. And you're going to get like 200-300 free golds for her if you pick France at the start. And I think that's just usually the best civilization to go with when you begin. And then after that, you've got a few options. If you're really into just gathering resources themselves, you pick one of the following civilizations. If you have a farm account really focusing on food, go Rome. If you need wood, stick with France. If you need stone, I would go Byzantium. And if you need gold, you go with Japan because they have an all-round gathering speed bonus. Japan is definitely the best if you're doing mixed resources. So if you're getting some wood, some stone, some food, some gold, whatever it may be, I recommend picking Japan because it's just a general resource gathering speed bonus. So really, you're going to usually pick Japan as your main civilization whenever you are gathering resources on a farm. But if you're someone like me who's a little bit lazy, and as you can see, my farm accounts aren't even in my main kingdom right now, you want to pick a civilization that's going to really benefit stuff like your production buildings, because they're going to be what make you the most resources when you're not really online. And that's why I would pick Spain, because you're going to get 20% resource production bonus, which literally just means you get more resources while you're offline. And since I may only log into my farms once or twice a day, the gathering speed bonus on something like Japan or Byzantium or whatever it may be isn't really going to affect me as much, since I log in the morning and I log in at night. So the resource production is actually better. So for a farm account, and this isn't currently a farm account right now on my siege account, I would pick up a civilization like Spain, or I'd pick up Japan, just depending on whether you're gathering resources or whether you're going for a more passive resource approach. So now that you've chosen your beginning civilization, another thing you should always consider with a farm is, do you make it in a brand new kingdom, or do you go to an old kingdom maybe where your main account might be? Because my main account is in 1534. I mean, that's a very old kingdom. And there's not much in there to do with newer accounts, of course, just because it is like something over 1,000 days old by now. But when you think about it, there's a lot of bonuses to being in a new kingdom as well. And there's really two options here. If you go with a new kingdom, you are setting yourself up to have a lot of beginning bonuses, especially if you play the account like it is a normal account. So if you treat a farm account as if it's just going to be a normal main account, just with gathering commanders, if you're in a new kingdom, you're going to get a ton of bonuses. You'll get stuff like monument rewards, which is just a ton of free gems. You will get more commander sculptures from earlier events, and you'll probably be in a better alliance, which will help you even more. You'll also get things like KVK 1, KVK 2 rewards, more time to build up your farm account, so that by the time it does reach your main account, it is pretty much set up as like one of the best farms you could get. It might be City Hall 25. It'll probably have under 25 million power. I'd say it'd have around 10 to 15 million power. It'll have 5 solid marches. You'll probably have a ton of gathering commanders expertise to at a really good gathering level. And then you'll pretty much just be set to rock this account as one of the farms for your main account. So that's definitely a very good option going in a new kingdom, and it is probably the superior option. The only downside is, well, there's actually two. First of all, if you're in a new kingdom, it's going to take a lot more effort to run that account. You can't really log into it like once or twice a day like I did with one of my farms. Because if you're running an account from scratch in a new kingdom, you're going to need to be in good alliances. You're going to need to focus on commanders, focus on equipment a lot more heavily, and you don't have that assistance from your main account where you might be able to even give your farm resources as kind of an investment. Not to mention that once the farm account is set up, it can't give you any resources till you get to your home kingdom. So that's another really big downside with being in a KVK 1 kingdom, even a before KVK 1 kingdom, a preparation season. With a farm account, you just can't give your main resources. Obviously, if you're in the beginning of the game, that's a different story. But for those really, really, really early kingdoms, and if your account's in an older kingdom, there's that definite, oh, I can't really do anything with this account until it is ready to go. So there's a very big time difference. I mean, my accounts have been out of commission since I made my Siege restart, which would be close to a year ago now, maybe around 7-8 months. So it takes a long time for them to get to Season of Conquest, and you can't just migrate them out. So that's the biggest downside with the new kingdom. But if you're willing to wait that time, you'll have a very, very solid farm account by the time you are done. So you can see these two accounts here. They're pretty much ready to be farms. They've got fairly decent commanders all around for gathering. I mean, this account's almost got every single gathering commander at the most optimal level. And then I've just got a really good farm ready to go in, I think it's around 20-30 days now, and I can migrate these over. So definitely if you want to go new kingdom, it's a good idea for the early bonuses, but an old kingdom is good if it's with your main account, and you can just start sending resources over the second those accounts are ready. The next thing to consider when it comes to farm accounts is the commanders themselves. Commanders for farming are always the most important thing. I always talk about whenever you're farming, look at your commanders, since they're going to be what make you the resources. They're going to be the most important part. And when we look at commanders on a farm, there's a few things you want to do. First of all, you're going to notice that you want to just expertise and level up those gathering commanders, especially the lower rarity ones. I recommend getting your gathering commanders to level 37 and really no higher. The reason you go to level 37 is because you've fully maxed out the gathering tree, and you've got level 5 out of 5 on superior tools, and you've pretty much got the best gathering tree there. It is also recommended that you focus very heavily in on your bluer commanders and lower rarity gathering commanders, just because they're going to cost a lot less experience, and when you look at any commander in the game, only the primary commander's talents matter. So if you max out the blue commanders to level 37 and you get the same talents as even the best legendary gathering commanders in the game, they're going to do the same thing. So level up those cheaper commanders, Constance, Gaius, Marius, Saka, Centurion, and you're in a very good position. You got 4 out of your 5 marches covered, and then you just pick one of the epic commanders. I usually recommend Joan, and you take them to level 37 as well. And then every other commander here is a secondary, so just level up their skills. I mean, I should have leveled up Sundok's second skill, and same thing with Cleopatra, and then just get their gathering skills up, and that way you've got a primary commander, which is your Constance, your Gaius, your Saka, your Centurion, or even your Joan, who will just gather resources as the primary, because only the primary commander's talents will affect them. And then you've got the secondary commanders who have the gathering skills that you can use as almost like a bonus to those primary commanders. Now, with your gathering commanders fully set up, how about the actual account itself, technology and building wise? And there are some important things you should be focusing on with your farm account, and the general order I recommend is really as follows. First of all, your city hall needs to go to 22 as soon as possible. Forget every other building, forget all other research, get City Hall 22 because it is the most important for a few reasons. First of all, at that point, you've unlocked the blacksmith, you've unlocked the state farm, you've unlocked pretty much every single building in the game. I don't think there's anything besides at City Hall 21, since everything else can be unlocked. On top of this, the second you hit City Hall 22, that's when you get your 5th dispatch queue, which is really the most you're going to get unless your farm starts maxing Crystal Tech, which no one really does. So City Hall 22, the most important city hall for any farm, and get it really as soon as you can. Just rush it straight to there. After that, I recommend focusing a little bit more on your troop training buildings, focusing a bit on your academy, and when it comes to academy, I really recommend focusing economic technology and just unlocking T4. I mean, you don't need anything beyond T4 and Rise of Kingdoms. They can kill barbarians very easily, so if you want to do that on your farm, and most people's farms will have some stuff to kill barbarians, I recommend just getting T4 units. They're perfectly fine. They will trade good enough against barbarians at least, and you'll be able to kill really up to level 25 barbs, which is more than enough. So don't worry too much about the military technology, just unlock the T4, maybe occasionally do some stuff with military technology to complete some events, but really focus on that economic technology, your mathematics, stuff like your engineering. These things will just save you time on your farm, and then focus in on some resources that you might be gathering. So shaft mining for gold, stone saw for stone, scythe for food, and then also whip saw for wood. That's the main technologies you want to focus. plus some of the really early game stuff, which I'm sure we already have, like hand axe and sickle, which also help with your gathering speed. So just make sure you're choosing the right economic technology. With every farm account though, I don't recommend getting carriage and I don't recommend getting cutting and polishing because you're not farming gems. And once you reach a higher city hall, troop load isn't going to be an issue for you, so this is just a waste of your resources and possible speed up. So don't get those two economic technologies at all, but every other real economic technology is pretty good to you. Maybe you can skip out on engineering because you're not going to really need to focus on some of the more expensive buildings such as the castle. Engineering isn't too useful, but you do need to upgrade your wall and stuff, so it can be valuable there. So really that's up to you. I recommend though get like 6 or 7 on engineering and get mathematics to 10. You're going to do a lot of economic research on your farm and even some military research, so it will be worth getting that. But other than that, I wouldn't be too stressed about your economic technology. Just focus on stuff that improves gathering speed and stuff that improves your resource production, but mainly gathering speed is what I recommend, though of course you can definitely get some resource production technology. After that, I definitely recommend, and this is something that might shock everybody, is upgrade your trading post, because no one likes paying tax. And if you can get this thing to level 25, it's a massive difference. I mean, it's a 35% rate at level 1 compared to a 8% rate at level 25. Not to mention you get a 100% march speed bonus, which is really, really nice. I mean, you won't notice how nice this difference is until you trade resources on your main account and then give yourself resources from a farm. So getting level 25 trading post, I recommend it as one of your top priority things. And of course, while you're doing this, you should always have your Alliance Center at the max level for its City Hall. I mean, the second you upgrade your City Hall, you upgrade your Alliance Center, and I should have mentioned that, but I have now. So that's the main thing. City Hall, Alliance Center, your Academy and the research in there, your trading post, and then just upgrade some of your economic buildings. If you got a spare builder, like I do, I have 2 right now, I'll just upgrade some of these economic buildings that are just going to make me resources over time, and they're really easy to get value out of. You don't even need to log in that much, and these will make value. I think it takes around 10-20 days for these to start making a profit, but they're always worth upgrading. Even when you hit City Hall 25, I would even spend gems to max out these buildings. They're just that good. So make sure you're focusing in this order: City Hall, Alliance Center, Academy, Trading Post, then resources, and then anything else. I mean, you've got state form, you've got troops. You don't really need to worry about hospital too much. Same thing with the scout camp. You don't have to worry about it. Same thing with the tavern. I mean, you need to upgrade that because it's just required. But really, those are the main buildings you want to focus on. You can skip storehouse. It's a waste of time unless you need to upgrade it. And like I said, you can skip hospitals. They're only okay if you're filling flags in a KVK. Another bonus of being City Hall 21 and above is you do get the state form, which is a very nice thing to have, because the second you unlock it, you'll be able to add the line formation to any of your marches. I did migrate this account to KVK1, so my formations have disappeared, but as you can see, the second you put it on, there you go, 10% gathering speed just on your march, this second that you are just gathering. So that's just a real nice bonus to have, and I'm sure everybody does like to have some free gathering speed. So definitely get the state form, unlock it, take it to like level 10, 12, whatever it may be, and if you're not farming barbarians, you can always just select your preferred formation to be that line formation, maybe the triple line and maybe the circle formation for barbarians, and then just send out your dispatches every now and again. So that's definitely something I recommend doing your travels every now and again on the farm, and then you've just got a fairly solid farm account set up there with good technology, a fairly good city hall, and a few armaments going that will just improve your gathering speed. The next thing to consider with your farm accounts is farming equipment, and I have really one recommendation here, and it is just make 2 pieces of blue equipment for each gathering march. So in total, you just need 10 pieces of blue equipment on a farm, and you're in a good position. The reason I say this is because it's the lowest cost to gathering speed ratio you're going to get. You need to spend around, I think it's close to 30-ish million gold on the whole entire set, and you're going to get about a 100% gathering speed bonus across all your marches in total. Whereas you might spend 30 million gold and you might only get a 30% bonus on one march with your thing. Or even if you're making a legendary piece of equipment, you're going to spend 30 million gold and you're going to get not even 30% on a single march. So you're going to really notice that the blue equipment, just 2 pieces, is the best value. If you're going very crazy, you can make 4 pieces, and that's going to be slightly less value, but it's still going to be pretty decent. And you can also make the Scepter of the Forest Guardian, because this weapon is also pretty much worth it. So really, those are the things I recommend. But at the minimum, I would try and get 2 pieces of gathering equipment on each commander. It doesn't matter which 2 blue pieces of equipment you're running, as long as there are 2 pieces, because you're going to be in a great situation where you got the 10% bonus right here, plus 5% on each piece, giving you a total of 20% for only 6 million gold. So that's definitely a very valuable way to get your equipment. And equipment isn't a big focus. I mean, once again, if you're not logging into the account 24/7, you won't notice the speed as much, but it's always a nice thing to have. So I recommend doing it as like a secondary thing off to the side. Don't make it your main focus. Just make it one of the things that you are kind of making a habit out of and something that you just slowly work on over time, since it's not too important, but it is going to help your gathering a little bit. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about is how many farm accounts should you make? And I think the answer is relatively simple here, and it is just depending on how many marches you run. If you run 1 to 2 marches or even 3 marches that are mainly T4 troops, you can get away with just 2 solid farm accounts. One focusing on, in my opinion, one focusing on food and then focusing on gold, and then one focusing on stone and focusing in on wood. That's what I recommend, just because food and wood are generally cheaper resources, and stone and gold are harder to get. So you'll notice that you're going to need a lot more gold and a lot more stone, at least from gathering, just because they're more annoying to acquire. So that's what I usually recommend when it comes to farm accounts. 1 for each resource really, or 2 for each resource. So 1 on food and gold, the other on wood and stone. That's a very good idea. For smaller accounts, free-to-players, low spenders, that's going to be perfectly fine. If you are looking at something a little bit bigger, maybe you're running 3 full marches pure T5, maybe you're running 4 or 5 marches mixed T5 and T4, I do recommend at that point 3 to 4 farm accounts, 1 for each resource, maybe a whole account dedicated to gold, maybe even a whole 2 accounts dedicated to gold, and then 2 other accounts between the other 3 resources. Something like that is definitely recommended, and you can set a farm account up in probably around 2-3 months if you do play it quite actively, even in an old kingdom. So definitely getting a farm account really for each resource is recommended when you have around 3, 4, 5 T5 marches, and if you have around 5 T4 marches, I also once again recommend having about 4 or 5 farm accounts just for every single resource, with, like I said, maybe 2 on gold, especially if you're running T5. If you're running T4, you don't need to worry about gold nearly as much, but it is still a valuable resource which you can trade with other players to give your main even more resources. So that's just a nice thing, and having more farm accounts is always a good thing if you do have that spare time to spend on the game, just because farms are going to give you a ton of resources from even just logging in and claiming free stuff like some MG events, whatever it may be. Stuff like that is just literally free resources, and I always do recommend it. One thing you should notice is that whenever you are making a farm account, you should make one in a kingdom, even if it's just like a kingdom you're about to migrate to, just because if you choose to make an extra account or you choose to have even more marches, you've got a spare account in that kingdom. So you'll notice right here, you can only have 2 characters in each kingdom, and that way if you, let's say, migrate to 22, 23 right now, you can make 2 accounts in there and then migrate your main account and then migrate your farms. That way you can have 5, 6 accounts in one kingdom, and you have around 1 main account and like 4 or 5 farm accounts. So that's what I recommend. Make 2 accounts in each kingdom before you migrate, and you're pretty much set. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, I just want to ask you guys for a small favor, and that is please do consider subscribing to the channel. I try to make as many guides as I can to be as helpful as possible, and if these guides are very helpful to you, it definitely does help support me when you do subscribe to the channel. So do consider it. It's a very small thing, and if you end up not liking my videos, you can always unsubscribe. And to all the people who are currently subscribed, it is very much appreciated. And to all the people who just subscribed, I appreciate you guys even more. Now, I just want to say thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.